Hello, welcome back to Document Automation Training Camp. This is the fourth and final week. You have been here for 4 weeks grinding through document process automation. Very excited to have you back here. Let's jump right into what we covered because this was probably the longest and hardest of the weeks. Lots of questions were coming in about different nuances here and there. So let's jump into really what we covered and why it was so important. You spent 3 weeks previously dealing with all of the components from classification to figuring out how to get information out of the classification model, training the classification model, moving into the extraction phase, moving into data validation and data enhancement. And now you're putting it all together. Aaron, you put together like week 1 and week half of 2 and some of 3. And Ollie, you put together we put up a whole bunch of videos together, Oliver, and the material has all come together. So just a reminder to everyone, Aaron here, he is going to be receiving all of the questions that you guys put into our LinkedIn. He'll be our LinkedIn czar. Ollie and I will be on here live, chatting with you about the past couple of weeks. We have a special guest coming in to talk about their document automation stuff. And then we'll be taking lots of questions and answering them as best we can. So first thing that you guys had to do this week was face that the first 3 weeks were probably the easy part. The components that you built could be reused if you were able to reuse them. You could build from scratch if you wanted, but diving right in, first piece was fixing the task-based classification to enhancing it to process-based classification. And process-based classification is kind of going towards what the learning instance does. You remember in the learning instance, you send a document through, it goes to validation based on some confidence and some rules. Well, we put that same kind of concept together within the classification process. And sometimes, I was asked even internally, why are we adding this complexity to it? It either classifies it or it doesn't. But if you think about things purely as a task, and you send in a document and it does its job and then it's done, that's fine. But if you want to do real end-to-end processing, the goal is to keep all of that information in memory and through that process in one swoop. So being able to send in a document, get a classification, and if confident, pass it along. And if not confident, have a human interact with the user interface, do what they need to do, and make sure that process continues. That was a really important build. And that principle is so important. It doesn't even just apply to just classification and extraction. You can start thinking of all of the tasks that you've built for just traditional legacy automation. Think about the times you could be sending stuff to a human for exception review, having them make a decision and having the bot or whatever you've built continue on from there. You can build that with Process Composer. It's not just classification or document specific. It's a really important thing to focus on. And while not every use case will use classification, we wanted to share that because many of them do. I think the most common thing, and we mentioned this in week 1, monitoring a mailbox for messages. Documents are coming in and you're processing them. I've personally built use cases where we were expecting our customers to send us 1 of 3 documents, and we were getting random things all the time. Like if we wanted their tax documents, their bank statements, and an application, they're sending us their driver's license too. We didn't ask for it, but it comes in. And we don't want to start trying to extract information from it and wasting our time processing those types of things. Every driver's license would go to validation. And then if someone has to figure out how to cancel that, it's a nightmare. Classify it, send it to other. It's a really important thing. If you happen to have a process that you know what the document is because you've already done some work upstream, you don't need to do a classification. You already have that business information. You can send to extraction, but it is very important to understand that classification is usually the starting point. And so we put that together. We also wanted to focus on modifying existing processes. So within the extraction learning instance, you'll remember we had you go in and modify the extraction bot itself to do pre-processing. You can modify the extraction bot and the download bot in those learning instances. Hint, hint, that might be important in an upcoming bot games. But understanding what those processes are doing, why they're sending it to a human, when they're not sending it to a human, what happy path is. It's all stuff that you should try to take away from this week's lessons. Because it is really important, not just a document automation, but process composer building in general. So once you built that end-to-end process, you should have had document go in, classification come out, extraction for that document come out. You should get that full experience. And if you want to revisit this video, it will be available forever on our university page. We also wanted to share a couple of other important understandings for you. The end-to-end solution you got to experience was the builder, right? You didn't get to really see what would happen in a real production setting. Control room limitations prevent you from managing teams and roles and other things like that. So we wanted to give you what it would look like from a business user's perspective interacting with these. And there was a video on what the user experiences with human in the loop and what role they play. I also wanted to show you that this is not the only way it can be built. We built it in a very happy path. We have the documents, you're pushing them through, and you're manually pushing them through for that matter. We wanted to show you that this can be scaled up to a lot of different designs. I wanted to throw as many in there as possible without overwhelming you, but the idea is that with the flexibility that our control room APIs give you, with the flexibility that tasks and processes, nesting processes, having task call processes, you could build this to solve just about any problem in your organization. And that's what that goal of that alternative design video was. It might not be for the regular developer. It could be for the automation league, the architect, but that video is meant to be something you could share with your business partners to say, look, you've got a business problem. We have a way to solve it. If it's got a document, just give it to us. We can figure it out. So with that in mind, I'll ask this question of myself first because I trained it. What was my biggest aha moment this week? The actual aha moment, this was the first end-to-end build video that I had done for document automation here. And I was actually really surprised with the flexibility. I did discover some things that can't be done, but those things were so obscure that I only ran into them because I'm insane and love just tinkering and trying to find how to push things to its limit. The fact that I was able to build that process that I showed you and then call it in 4 different ways. I didn't show this, but I have a Python script that is turning a file into binary, uploading it to the control room, and then invoking a bot. You could have a custom application from somewhere else in your organization leverage this. Like, I was really surprised at the level of flexibility that the Process Composer brings, coming from somebody who's only left V11 about a year and a half ago to seeing what we can do now with Process Composer. It surprised me a lot. Things that caused me trouble. There are some quirks with variable mapping as we've scaled this program up that I had to figure out how to do. One of them was file name, mapping in a file name. We got a lot of questions on that in the forums, a couple of emails. I've put some requests in to get some of those quality of life things enhanced. But overall, if a silly quirk, I've got to map a file name to a file name. If that's the thing that caused me the most trouble in solving complex document automation things, I'm happy. So, Ollie, I'll let you go first. I know you didn't build this week, but you got to build this out. You used the videos. What surprised you when you went through these?
Yeah, it was nice to enjoy the videos this week and not be worrying about it. Yeah, the alternate designs that you produced was a massive one for me. I think because of you just realize that it's so much more than just a learning instance, and actually you can just add on and modify your existing processes, just or build them around the learning instance themselves. So whether you're got a third-party API that's sending something to that learning instance, you can totally do that, and it's unbelievably powerful. I think for me as well, and Process Composer it still feels new to me, and the power of it is something that, again, it's that classic beautiful UI, super simple to use. You think of it as being simple, but actually when you think the power of what you can do to it and how you can connect everything, we've got API tasks now, we've got approval tasks as well. The just unbelievable power that you can have by connecting learning instances to humans for them to approve, that then goes to an API. It's hugely powerful, and I actually really can't wait to see what some of our customers are producing with Process Composer. those learning instances. So yeah, that what was probably a 2.5-minute video, I think alternate designs probably gave me more thoughts and excitement than anything we've had so far. It's hugely exciting.
Yeah, thank you for that. I thought it was a great video too. Aaron, I don't think you got to. I didn't give you these to tinker around with, but I know you probably watched some, reviewed some of the material. What were your big moments from seeing an end to end? Anything surprise you or problems that you noticed?
Well, not really that much on a surprise type of thing. I've been using Process Composer for quite a while now, and have kind of learned some of its interesting quirks, and some of them are actually kind of neat. Like being able to take an input from one of the objects earlier, even though it had been modified by a different object, and you can still get that original variable value from that. And there's only a few cases where that's terribly important and useful, but when you do have it, oh wow, it's great. I don't need to store this old value in a variable. I can just pull that value from the object earlier and get that original value. So there's a tremendous amount of flexibility in the Process
Yeah.
Composer. And we're being promised that the next version is going to be just mind-blowingly better than this one. And I can't wait to get my hands on it.
Yeah, I've seen some of those videos, and they look like all of the things that when Ollie's referring to the current one being simple and it still being immensely powerful. What I've seen coming in the next version looks like they're ramping up from still simple and elegant, but oh, you can do that now. Like I think it's going to end up getting its own series.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Aaron, the thing you were referring to about accessing old values that were old outputs, you're referring to within the process when a task runs, you're mapping things, inputs from the process into it using the variable mapping on the side. And then anything that's within that task, API task, process, human task, that is available as an output is available anywhere in the process going forward. That's what he's referring to. So we did that mapping for thinking the classification process from this week. When we were referencing back to the classifiers, true classification, and then we had the human task go over and say, here's the manual classification, right? We had two different things. Both were available for our logging at the very end. And I didn't have to do anything. All I had to do was hook that task in, define it as an output in the task, and now it's available within that process going forward. Yeah. That does really simplify things. I've been in tools, workflow tools, where if you don't deliberately create the variable in the process, do that mapping, and then reference it later, it's lost. And this makes it, once you understand where to look, it makes it a lot easier to manage all of your information.
Absolutely.
So we have a guest with us who is going to talk about their automation journey. Partha Das, can we bring him up on screen? Awesome. So I've got your slides here, and from what I understand, you have put together a process long before any of the document automation training camp stuff was out. This is a process you built, and you're in the midst of kind of upskilling it, so to speak. Do you want to talk about what that problem is and how you guys solved it?
Sure. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Ollie. Yeah. So we had this bot built out actually on IQ bot, and then we moved to the A360 version. And we started converting this learning instances on A360. The problem statement was that suppliers for a midstream analyst would send, like there would be around 25 plus suppliers. They would be sending different formats of PDFs and Excels to a bot, business share email box, and then the bot have to extract the information, transpose it, transform it, and then load it to FlowCal. This was a very manual process, very error prone. So business came to us and that, okay, can you do it for us? And then we started looking at it, and that is how we started using IQ-Bot come document automation now. And we have seen improvements in the way the documents are processed using document automation. We have some challenges that we'll talk later maybe. But that is a problem statement that business had to spend an awful lot amount of time doing the same work day in day out for almost a good 7 to 10 days. So they were frustrated. They wanted to automate that process.
And so it looks like here you are doing very similar to what we discussed as one of the design patterns. You're gathering files from a mailbox. You have to classify those files because each of the types have different extraction rules. Then you do some extraction and you format it and put it where it needs to go. So it's very similar to what we're talking about in our end-to-end build. And again, you guys settled on this long before our video. So that's really cool. Just showing everyone the things that tend to work, even when you haven't gone through these types of trainings. These are the solutions and the designs that fall in. Now, what I did want to ask about, do you have human in the loop at all in these processes right now? Or is it either works or it doesn't work?
We do have, like, towards the validation, once the data is loaded to FlowCal, business would still validate because payments are made to the supplier based on the volume that comes in. So we do have the human element, and then if it has to be redone, sometimes they would send the suppliers would send the format of the data, and the learning instance was not trained, so we have to go and retrain it, sometimes to extract the meter information and then reprocessing. So there is a human element to it towards the end of it, and then we do reprocess as needed.
Mm-hmm. So you say it's afterwards. So we've gathered them, we've classified, we've done extraction, we've formatted, we've put them into the end system, and then a human comes in and does it. Okay, right. So as part of week 4, we show some stuff with human in the loop integrated directly into the process. Have you been able to get all the way up to week 4 yet?
To be honest, I have finished only week 2. And okay. I was trying, as we talk later on, like we are trying to increase the scope of the project, right? So I was pretty impressed with this GenAI stuff. I tried the documents that was provided on the material, and then I tried it on my dev control room and with some samples that I am trying to get past, like some scanned documents. So it was promising, to be honest, yesterday when I tried them. So I'm really looking forward to week 3 and week 4.
Cool. No, that's really cool. So you mentioned scanned documents there. I'm assuming that the documents that are coming in are not of great quality. Is that when you're saying that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's always been a big one. And Aaron, who is not on camera right now, he did a great video on what it looks like to change those things, make them cleaner. Have you gotten to experiment with those at all?
So what we did was we tried converting them to PNG format, and it worked, but it's like not super consistent at this point. We have done like 4 out of 5 times it would run fine, and the 5th time, if there is a 11, they would give you a 17 as in the output, or a 7. So there are still some glitches, and that's what I'm looking forward to use. I saw the pre-processing document video. I think that we can use to enhance the quality of the image. And sometimes the tables, at inside it looks very clear, but then when the learning instance starts intaking them, that is when you start having issues. So I think some of them will be really useful to try, but I could not complete all of them.
No, that's great. I'm glad that you've got things that you're looking forward to. What are some of the other problems that you're facing with your current design?
Mostly with the scanned documents. Otherwise, the accuracy is pretty neat. With the current bot, the one that we are talking about, the third-party volume imports, the accuracy is more than 95%. So the data is very structured. And one thing that we have tried now is, let's say the meter data is needed only for 5 meters. So it has a 10-page document, and we want to get the only extract the information out of only 5 pages. So we do not pass the entire document to reduce the runtime and make it more efficient. We split the information, have the meter numbers that we need for, and then pass it to the learning instance. You save on pages and you save on time as well.
Yeah. So could you talk a little bit more about the overall business problem and how you addressed it with certain pieces? Because I'd love to do a live, architecture rebuild coming. Based on what you're doing, it would be really neat to help figure out what you could be using based on what videos we've done, and I'll point you in the right direction so that you're able to hop in and maybe get some inspiration. So, talk through some of the things that you had to do to solve your current design.
Sure. And that email box that I was talking to you about, we did not have the suppliers would send, like almost 50 suppliers would send information that bot would not need. So after we download the information, we would have to first, we have a company meter mapping file. Like let's say we need for only for the 20 companies. And that way we can divide, okay, all of the data is not needed for the classification part. And then when it comes to extraction part, prior to using document automation, we had regular expressions, which was a lot of code, to be honest, and very error prone, a lot of issues. So the code itself was not stable. So I know by converting them to document automation, we saved a lot of time and also made it more resilient, more robust. So that we do not have to spend too much time on the extraction part. And then we had import templates that the business would give to us so that the local can ingest them. So we just convert them to a text file, come CSV file, and then push it to the network drive. So the challenges were mostly around the meter numbers would change sometimes. They would say, oh, we need to add a meter number, we need to delete a meter number, because the companies would get sold. So the meter number formatting would change. So it would be a slight tweak sometimes on the learning instance, and then we try to make it configurable so that you do not have to even change the code. So you can just look at the configuration file, and based on that, oh, this is the company number, we need only this meters, and then change on the config file. That way we don't have to go through the entire change management process.
It's interesting. The first thing that you mentioned was you were doing OCR and regex. And in week 1, when we had Mike Guidry up, we talked about that's what, automation, document automation used to be thought of as. It was just OCR, some regex, some rules, and forcing that into whatever template it needed to be. Now you're talking about slowly upskilling those things. And it's great that getting to see you go through the document journey we talked about in week 1 in real time, right? You're in the process of kind of going from stage 1 to stage 2. And then once you're done with these video series, maybe going from stage 2 to stage 3.
Yes, absolutely. So we started with like 4 or 5 customers, and then we started scaling it up. Now we are around 12, 15. We want to be doing this for all the suppliers that send the information. So maybe hit around 30, 35. And business is really happy with the way we are extracting the data. Right now we have a savings of, let's say, 12, 15 hours. We want to make it like 30 to 48 hours per week. And then they're saying that other areas are getting interested now from the midstream business area. So they have reached out to us with more complex data. And I think that is where your newer capabilities with document automation will come in really handy. So that's my end goal. Like, we have some conflicting tools that does the same thing. We want to have one. And I feel if this can deliver, if document automation can deliver, it can give us a lot of cost savings.
Hey, Parth, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about data validation. You mentioned rules a little bit before, but how you guys have approached that and how you have found that so far.
So the data validation on the rules on the document learning instance itself, we haven't used as much. I would like to use it. Like, let's say the meter number earlier, we used to split it out before. Maybe we can include that as part of the learning instance itself, and we can get rid of the earlier part of the code as well. So that will be like, just have one learning instance call from the task, and it gives you the output, and then copy it to the shared drive.
Which video was that, Ollie? Was that video 8 or 9? There's a video that's specifically asking for what you're looking for, and I'm struggling to remember which number it was, but it's in week 3.
Yeah. So brace yourself, Parth. It's coming up soon.
Yeah.
It was maybe 9 or 10.
There's a video specifically on getting data from another source and using that information as validation rules within your learning instance. So,
that is week 3.
And that means that data is external to your solution. So once it's in production and somebody says this company has changed, you can update those rules without impacting your overall build.
Sure, I really tried them out. I think there is a great scope here to make the processes better for the business.
Yeah, I think it would be great to revisit your situation in a couple of months, because if you're able to go from IQbot fashion design to incorporate human in the loop elements directly into a process, data validation directly in a process, generative AI to solve the problems you're facing with things moving around on documents, and all the pre-processing stuff to clean up your scanned documents, and then use that success to drive more use cases at your organization over the next couple of months. it would be great to have you come back and talk about the success that you've had and how you've had that success and what you've done and what you've shared. So yeah, we should definitely mark that down for a revisit if you'd be willing to do it.
Sure, I'd be more than happy. And I know we are trying to, like, so I'm from the COE, we enable our other spokes or business units. So finance has a lot of scope there. They had some use cases, but they are not able to hit the consistency. And I think sometimes it's the lack of knowledge, because you go through the learning instance and try to do what is there. But I have been encouraging them, all my business units, to attend these sessions, make the most out of it, and maybe that will go help in a great way to achieve where we want to be. Because I know that being in the oil and gas industry, every business unit, especially commercial, and then finance, and also the refining area, we have a lot of back-end data or statements coming in from different suppliers. So we can make most of it, but we are at a learning phase now, learning and implementing. So we started something very small, and then once it has become a success, we can expand it to expand our footprint.
That is absolutely the right approach. Start small, gain trust, and then slowly build from there. So I did want to talk about what impacts that the automation is having to your business, because I think that it lends really nicely to what you were saying about establishing success, building trust, and then being able to share that story. How are you guys measuring the impact that your solution has to the business?
Okay, so the manual data extraction is completely taken out, because we have like 18 to 20 different templates, and the business had to every time scan through the email box and first see, okay, this is the information that we'll be looking. So they spend a lot of time going to their Outlook and then classifying them, and then extracting the data manually to an Excel sheet, and then doing the transformation. So it was error prone, because it has to be done for almost 20 different customers. There's always, and the names are sometimes like Enterprise Texas and Enterprise. So they would put the wrong data in the wrong format, and then it would get loaded to Flowcare, and then when the validation is done by a different team, there is a mismatch. So the human error percentage has been eliminated to almost 0%. Right, it's not there, and then they could focus more on more productive, high yielding work for the company. And as I said, it was saving around 12. It's currently saving around 12 to 15 hours, which is not a lot. But if we can expand it to the other suppliers, I think business will be really happy. And as I said, they will talk to the to their co-workers, and they will come to us. And one team has already reached out to me to see, okay, can we do something else on this?
Yeah. I like how you're bringing up, the 12 to 15 hours. It's nice, but it's not necessarily the big thing. The reduction in errors is a huge thing, but there's probably other metrics that haven't even been considered here. Like, how long did it used to take you from getting that email sent to getting everything processed? And that turnaround time can greatly impact your business. If it's, a really big invoice or some other large dollar amount, turning that around really quickly helps settle the books faster. And, that could go towards, if you're making a big purchase, that could be, we've made the payment and get the supplies in. I'm not sure what you're using these documents for, but processing time can be a big factor in, the business functioning properly.
Yeah, and business has informed, like, they have to sometimes work on the weekends to get this done, because the payment has to go out on a certain day. So it was also saving them their time, and giving them the work balance, work and personal life balance. So
yeah, customer and employee experience are two often neglected metrics when it comes to what automation can contribute. Not to dive into this too deeply now, but just imagine you've got employees that have to work nights and weekends in order for your company to run. They're probably going to go find another job at the time they can, which means you've got to go train new employees. That's a cost you weren't factoring into the fact that automation can help you, reduce those types of training costs and that attrition rate. Another call out real quick. Partha, you mentioned you're only on week 2 and you're starting to look at week 3. These videos and this training course will be available through, I believe, November 22nd. And these courses will be available in perpetuity. So while access to the control room is limited for the next couple of weeks, if you have document automation at your organization, you'll be able to continue viewing these sessions and doing those builds at your leisure in your own organization's control room, until the end of time. So continue to engage. Don't feel like just because this is week 4, you're done. Keep on working. There's a lot to learn, and you can continue to learn it as long as you have this access. So
I just wanted to shout out quickly, Partha, you when you get to the stage where you're facing all these huge volumes as well, there's the maximizing throughput video on week 3 as well, which talks about how you scale that up and how you potentially anticipate demand too. So just want to give a shout out to that video as something which I think any of you, once you start doing document automation in production, it might not be a video for now, but it's definitely one for later once you're working on real life production cases.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Especially if you have time sensitive documents that you need processed, knowing how quickly you can process through them, that video is fantastic for that. Well, Partha, I will allow you to stay on here. We're going to move on to our community section for now. If there are questions for Partha, what he's built, what he's looking to build in the future, about his industry, about the solution, feel free to put those in the chat. And if he's able to stick around, he'll answer them as he can. Thank you again, Partha, for joining us. I'm going to pull up Kate here. Kate, if you'd like to go through our community shout outs.
Yes. All right. You've got the slide up. Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm here filling in for Lou this week. Surprise, it's me. Okay, we've had some amazing engagement in our community. Thanks to everyone who's contributing. You all are what make this experience fantastic. So I'm just going to run through these shout outs, specifically calling out just a handful of things around aha moments. Okay, Shandu Mohammed, one of our MVPs. His aha moments, calling a process within the main process and tracking the main process number for sub-processes and the request title. How many times can we say process in one sentence, you guys? Retaining the original document name when saving the document. It's a key step, not just for DA, but also when using Process Composer to save documents from forms. And his last aha moment, the Process Composer canvas makes it easy to build robust end-to-end solutions. All right. I'm going to go down to Narinda. He's feeling accomplished after finishing week 4. Way to go. Aha moments, fetching the input document name when working with Process Composer while saving. This helps to save the document with the original file name. And end-to-end solution integration. Very good. Sanjay says the final and last week was all about implementing everything that we learned in document automation process in the last 3 weeks to create an end-to-end document automation process. We are so glad you joined us, Sanjay. Thank you for sharing. Madhu, another MVP. He gave us some insights on both LinkedIn and within the community. He is super excited about the workflow enhancements and thankful for being part of this experience. We're thankful for you, Madhu. And also he noted that the hands-on practice was really, really valuable and provided him with some great takeaways. Gautam, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right. I apologize if I messed it up. That's my MO, so apologies. This week has been a transformative journey into the world of automation, where I've delved into some incredible topics that are reshaping how we handle documents. Feeling inspired and ready to implement these strategies. We can't wait for you to tell us what strategies you implement and what use cases you're going to use. Super exciting. Come back to the community. Tell us these things. B27953. Thoroughly enjoyed building the end-to-end solution. I think that's probably everybody's favorite part. Give me a thumbs up with the reaction if that is what you liked the most too. Aha moments, customizing generative AI prompts for better data extraction, optimizing document automation for handling large volumes efficiently through device pools was a game changer. It helps boost efficiency without sacrificing quality, and seamless integration to end-to-end document processes. And the last shout out is Navya, another MVP. Her aha moment was when she was seeing the drastic difference in data extraction success percentage when the template model had been changed into neural model while training docs in standard forms. All right. This is killer feedback, everybody. Thank you all. And do you want to go to the next slide so we can give our swag winners? This week, our week 3 swag discussion winners are Aditi and Narendra. We will reach out via email to both of you. There's one last chance to win. Head to the community, engage there, share, and dive in. And we will email next week's because this is our last LinkedIn Live. But thank you all so much for being part of this. We appreciate you all so much.
Cool. Kate, you did mention MVPs there. I don't know that we've talked about them at all. If you want to just give a quick intro to what they are.
Yeah, so our MVP program is an exclusive program for invited, very experienced automation professionals, ranging in roles from developers to automation leads and beyond. They are people who are super passionate about automation and expanding its impact in their organization and across the industry. As an MVP, they help share information, their best practices. They lead user groups from time to time, but they also get some key benefits. So things like sneak previews to what's coming up on the roadmap and exclusive access to some of our executives for Ask Me Anything sessions. And of course, everybody's favorite MVP exclusive swag. There's so much more to the program, but if anyone wants to learn more, you definitely need to sign up for Pathfinder Summit, which we will tee up here soon. We'll be announcing some changes, enhancements to the program, and talking about how you can make your way to becoming an MVP in the future. So that will be something to look forward to here in January.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for having me. Hopefully I filled in Lou's shoes okay.
Great. Yes, you did. Thank you for coming. All right, let's hop into Q&A. We have a couple of questions that we have marked. Feel free to keep adding them in and we'll address them as quickly as we can. First one, when will access to the control room end? I do believe it was November 22nd.
Yes.
That is to our control room. Access to the material that you are working from will never end. And you'll be able to use that in your own control room, assuming you have document automation. Awesome. Ali, did you want to take the one on throughput since you brought it up earlier?
Yeah. Stephen, Amaka asked a great question. Yeah. Could you speak to the throughput video a bit for the Abby Fine Reader? Is that Stephen or is that Elon asking the question? You said you found Google Vision to be faster. Abby Fine Reader works off locally downloaded packages, so does not require going out of the network to Google Cloud. Was Google Vision faster for you because of the low spec runner machines, or just curious? Yeah, great question. And for those who perhaps haven't seen the throughput video, we wanted to put together a video which would give everyone, certainly when they're looking at doing document automation in production, ideas of how they can improve the number of pages that can be processed per unit of time in sort of each phase of document automation. So whether that's pre-processing, classifying, extracting, or doing data validation on pages within a document, we wanted to give you tips on how you can ensure that you're getting great speed and therefore great throughput. One of the recommendations was to consider using an external OCR service. And yes, Stephen, to your point, where we'd seen that previously before was it wasn't necessarily low spec machines, but we'd certainly seen it where you're having to pass through, say, the corporate network, and there's potential throttling. But equally, the potential of being able to handle just multiple pages at the same time through the API, however the Google Vision's architecture structured, it seemed to just be super impressive at taking multitudes of pages and just coming back with the output. But what I should say is this will no doubt be dependent on the type of document that you're trying to process. So just because I found that to be the case for the document I was working with doesn't necessarily mean it will be the case for yourselves. Equally, you may also find that when you start and this goes live and it's in production, Google Vision is super fast, but actually you notice over time, actually, if we swap out and try a different OCR provider, we're getting even better accuracy and better performance too. So I would say it's something that should be continually reviewed as well. And going back to some of the metrics which we talked about with Partha as well, keeping an eye and monitoring those, and then determine if it's worthwhile updating, maybe updating your process flow and swapping out certain components for others as well to keep that throughput number really low. But thank you. It's a great question.
Yeah, it's interesting about the type of document question that you just brought up. I have seen with previous tool that we used, if you use their out of box and it was just plain text unstructured document, their out of box processed it lightning fast, absolutely blazing fast. Something that had tables on it though, it could not function. And we don't know why. The theory from the company was that all the vertical lines it kept mistaking for letters, and then in one of their cleanup steps they had to remove them because they noticed that a single letter I down an entire page does not make sense, and slowly removing things, those types of stuff. So there's certain tools that are built with concepts of tables and images on a document can do a lot better. It's really, really funny when you have a image on a document and that image has text in it. Some tools are able to read that text really quickly. Other tools recognize that this is an image. I'm going to exclude that because it's not part of the document. And some of them struggle with that. You will have to do tests against your own document to see which is better. But Ollie did put some recommendations out there. Thanks.
Aaron, I think the question for you here, what would be the best way to test a process that has
Mr.
Process Composer?
Multiple years of Process Composer experience.
I don't know how long I've been using Process Composer. It has been quite a while though. And the question really, I think, is kind of coming up from the fact that there is no debug mode in a Process Composer. There is debug mode in the taskbots, and many of us have used that and been quite successful with that. But at this time, Process Composer does not have that functionality. Now, how do we get around that? One of the ways to do this is to make a copy of the process itself. And my cat wants to say hello to everyone. Thank you very much. That is to make a copy of that process and remove some of the steps that you didn't want to actually execute. If you want to just go ahead and have it test processing a file and bring that in and determining the correct file name. That was one of the challenges that we were able to figure out. That's one way of doing that. And the other way of doing this is use some old school tricks back in your taskbot. Use those message boxes, bring them up. They still work. They will still pop up on your screen and be able to give you that values from variables and being able to pause your taskbot at that one specific place in case you needed to do something behind the scenes. So don't forget the old school tricks to debugging and logging and things like that. That they're still valid. They're still valid.
You reminded me. Go ahead, Ollie. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, shout out to that. It doesn't matter what language I'm in. If I'm in JavaScript, I'm console logging. If I'm in Python, I'm printing. I'm Automation 360, I'm message boxing. And hey, we've got some great debugging enhancements in .34, by the way, for child bots, but I'm just a message box kind of guy. So
Me too.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm very fond of is input-output mapping. So it's if you are doing unit testing for every taskbot and you know that given a set of inputs, it produces the right output. When you put that into Process Composer and you have the right inputs heading into it, you know what the outputs will be. And you could turn off things, as Aaron was mentioning, turn off things throughout the way. You run the first step, and it creates a value in a JSON. You can take that value, and when you run that process and you have it marked as an input variable, you can push that in there and now continue the rest of the process testing, knowing what those earlier steps would have gotten back. It gives you the ability to do that kind of manipulation. You could also just throw in a human task in between where you want to inject this data, put that data in the format you want, and let it continue. Until we get proper debugging within a process, I think some of those tricks are going to be your best bet. All right. Got a really long aha moment. Probably is going to hide. Yep, it did hide Aaron entirely.
Hey.
My biggest aha was really understanding how flexible it is over unstructured data. It made me realize that this flexibility makes it not just some sort of robot process automation tool, but it truly becomes an enabling tool for complex real-world applications. The platform then enables it to correctly deal with all these document formats, creating unlimited possibilities towards efficient end-to-end automation far beyond these rule-based tasks. Can we get this over to marketing? That sounds really good. I liked that. That is exactly what we were hoping to communicate with the flexibility and the fact that AI is now embedded directly within these processes. It's not the complex, 2018 or 2018 style of automation. This is true AI-powered orchestration.
Yeah, there's so many companies that struggle to find a good use, a real use for AI, and we did it.
Yeah.
I mean, unstructured documents, there is no better fit. It is so perfect for this AI integration, and it has really performed miracles.
Yeah, and to your point, like most companies are throwing chatbot onto whatever UI they have in their tool, and that's the extent of it. In coming weeks, there will be challenges and training, and then in the future, which I'm just going to now plug, at Pathfinder Summit, we will be showing the combination of document automation with AI, with generative AI, to do even more things. We've talked about extraction here and getting structured data out of documents. What if the data you're getting out of documents is completely unstructured? Like you are reading a legal document and the paragraph that you want to extract is now a 60 to 70 word legal clause. What are you going to do with that? Well, why not have generative AI take that output from you and do something with it, make it even more usable? We have sessions on that coming up, which I think goes into the next comment, expecting some exciting sessions on AI Studio soon with similar control room access. That is great point. Yeah, we will. We've loved what we've done here with document automation and the response we've gotten. We know that AI Studio, AI skills, enterprise knowledge, all of the other generative AI capabilities that we have in there are equally as exciting and need to be also put into a course like this. So it will be on our radar. Kate, do you want to come back up and talk about Pathfinder Summit? You're on mute, Kate. Still on mute. I am going to unmute you. I've unmuted you, maybe? Yes.
Yep, here I am.
I don't remember Lou getting stuck on mute.
I was going to say, Lou never did this.
Oh,
Sorry, guys.
That's
Failing.
not nice.
Okay, so I dropped in the chat the link to kind of our pre-RSVP event page for Pathfinder Summit. Head there, add your name to the list. You will be the first notified when our registration page goes live. Pathfinder Summit will be a free community conference that will span over 3 days. We will have sessions for every time zone. Expect everything from keynote sessions about what's coming from both a product perspective as well as what we're doing in the community, to use case presentations by community members. We're super excited about that. If you have an awesome use case, we definitely want to hear about it. There will be what we're calling automation and action sessions. So if you're very technical, you're going to love seeing some of these live demos. And we will also have sessions led quite often by our team on best practices. Matt, do you have any specific sessions?
Yeah,
you wanna
we've seen AI Studio and AI skills be mentioned a lot. We already have on our plan to put out how-to sessions for enterprise knowledge, AI skills, and just generative AI use in general. When to use them, targeted specifically for developers. So if you're a developer and you want to learn what's available in Automation Anywhere with generative AI, there will be a session on that. We will also have some use case specific building sessions, such as how to build an AI agent that can talk to people about material that you've provided it. So there will be a lot of AI, generative AI related content in here, not just for developers, but also for automation leaders that are looking to understand where they should be putting generative AI and how they should apply it within their organization broadly, and how they'll measure the value from it.
All right. I'm super excited about these sessions. One last type of session. We know you all like connecting with one another, and that means that we want to enable that through networking sessions. So if you are interested in maybe leading a networking session because you like connecting with your peers, perhaps you love a good coffee chat, we would love to have you host a session. They will be limited to 16 people because we know big crowds don't lead to great conversation. We are looking for people to lead discussions around their industry or a key topic or a role on your team. So if that sounds interesting to you, or if you have any other ideas for sessions that you think the community would want to know about, scan this QR code and put your thoughts in an application. We are reviewing those and will notify people who are selected to speak by the end of this month. We are just really excited to put this on for the community. It's been a long time coming. And I think it's going to just be a really fabulous way to kick off the next year.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. We do have one more slide for you, and Ollie, I will not steal your thunder. I will let you.
Thank you, Matt. You've done a training camp. What better way is there to test your skills and see if you're up for the challenge than doing bot games? So coming to your inbox very soon, and the community forums as well, there will be a challenge which will utilize everything that you've learned from weeks 1 all the way through to weeks 4 from the training camp. So you'll be working with unstructured documents, leases to be specific. You'll have to leverage generative AI, utilize API tasks, and use the power of processes and end-to-end solutions in order to complete this. So keep your eyes on your inbox, hone those skills, and get ready, because we've got one heck of a challenge for you coming up.
Awesome. Thank you, Ollie. Are there any last questions that we have to look through? I don't see any. Awesome. So thank you everyone for joining. This is the final document automation training camp, but not the final one of these we'll be doing. We will definitely try to get some material out there for AI Studio and other things. Until then, look forward to Pathfinder Summit. Look forward to seeing you then. Thanks, everyone.